Now, moving on, a 12-year-old Jewish boy is under investigation by counter-terrorism officers after he said that he wanted Hamas to be wiped out. GB News can reveal this story because the boy's family, who have requested anonymity, of course, have been interviewed by counter-terrorism police and local police officers about a fear of radicalisation after his comments about Hamas. It's an astonishing story, and to talk about it, I'm joined by GB News reporter Charlie Peters, who investigated this story. Charlie, a 12-year-old Jewish boy, hardly Al-Qaeda. Tell us more.
Well, this boy, we understand, was reported to prevent the government's counter-extremism duty and body by the safeguarding lead at his school. We understand the family's from South Tyneside. We're not identifying the school or the family. But this report was made after the teacher asked this boy, just 12 years old, is there anything in the news that's upsetting you at the moment? And he's understood to have said, yes, Hamas, reacting to the war ongoing between Israel and Hamas in the West Bank, etc., and is then understood to have been saying that he wants them to be wiped out. Now, Hamas, we should stress, is a proscribed terrorist organisation. The government's position on this is that it should be destroyed, it should suffer. But as it happens, the report from the family is that this was then passed on to those counter-extremism officers. And we've heard an audio recording of a police officer and a counter-extremism officer interviewing the boy's parents alongside a representative from Faircop called Harry Miller. Now, he's assessed this case and he's representing and supporting the family as they say that this is an overreach and an unacceptable use of police powers to interfere with quite legitimate speech. Now, in other areas where they've sought to present this boy as potentially being radicalised, the officers have also referred to footage posted online of the boy holding a toy crossbow. We have some footage that we can show you now of the boy, just 12, holding a crossbow. It's from national heritage. It's a toy, I should stress. It's not something that could injure anyone. But the parents are understood to have been asked by the police in an interview at their home whether or not, because of this crossbow, if they had any air rifles at home, did they had any knives? So they were asking whether or not they had weapons in the household. They also went on to ask questions about the views in the household on the situation in Israel. Is this potentially a situation where the parents are radicalising their child? So all very controversial. Some of it reportedly stems from the child being bullied at school, facing some appalling taunts based on the fact that he's Jewish, asking him in the PE changing room if the showers there remind him of the gas chambers. That's what his mother told us, saying that he's been facing that sort of taunting and abuse. Now, teachers, she say, would have been able to have heard that, and they've also alleged, this family, that the school have been duped by these bullies. They're passing on and misreporting this child's comments in order to get him in trouble, and that's where Prevent, the counter-extremism body, has intervened.
That's a toy crossbow. We saw it on the screen there, could barely knock a tin can off a wall. He's undergone comments at school. He's gone on social media. He's 12. He's a 12-year-old boy saying he wants a proscribed terrorist organisation to be eradicated, which, by the way, is the position of most Western governments. Why on earth are counter-terrorism cops getting involved?
Sure, this isn't necessarily the kind of space they could and should be getting involved with. But I think it's worth looking at the story through the perspective and in the knowledge and the context of the Shawcross review into Prevent last year. Now, this was a government-mandated review of the government's counter-extremism duty, and it found, according to Sir William Shawcross, he made 34 recommendations, but he said that Prevent had lost its way. It had failed to adequately identify the real extremist risks in society. All too often, it was prosecuting those who were not deserving of prosecution, and it had missed legitimate and serious targets. He also said in a response to a progress report released earlier this year in February that he felt as though Britain had become less safe since the Israel-Hamas war started, and that the government was not sufficiently targeting Hamas sympathisers. I've spoken to several groups involved in this sort of oversight. UK Lawyers for Israel told me that all too often the government's not sufficiently prosecuting Hamas sympathisers, and at the same time they're going after a kid who says that they should be wiped out. That's a proscribed terrorist organisation. Surely that's the view of the state.
Charlie Peters, it's an astonishing story, but well done for bringing it to our attention. Thank you for joining me here in the studio. And I have a joint statement here from Northumbria Police and Counter-Terrorism Policing North East, who said this: "We are unable to discuss individual cases or identify anyone who may or may not be the subject of a Prevent referral. All referrals are treated in the strictest confidence and will always prioritise the safety and welfare of those concerned. Prevent is a multi-agency approach to safeguarding and supporting those most at risk of radicalisation through early intervention. It seeks to protect young and vulnerable people against all forms of extremist activity, regardless of ideology. As a force, Northumbria Police is committed to supporting its diverse communities. We make it our mission to forge strong relationships, and we are here to offer support wherever it is needed."